Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hour sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. As you can see, we have a bunch of questions submitted already, which we'll go through. But if there's anybody here live on the call who would like to submit any questions, feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a bunch of other SEOs live on the call. And I think one of my favorite things about SEO Office Hours isn't just the four of us talking, but everybody else also sharing their perspectives. So please feel free to continue doing that. Joe's going to summarize and so on, like usual, as we go. So you will be heard. And every week with me today is Juliana, Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs. Morning, Joe.
Good morning. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I apologize. I've lost my voice today, so I might be a little bit quieter than normal or be using the chat functionality. Yes, we are very pleased to be back today for the 44th episode of SEO Office Hours. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Danny and John Mueller for being on the keynote, and Danny sharing the nice image that Simon now has in his background image here. So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. Steve, Frank, Natalia, Albert, Kevin, Olowa, Bilom, Nishant, Woodberg, Raquel, Daniel, Josephine, Neil, Benjamin, Emily, John, Simon, and everyone else. Welcome that is joining us later and watching the recording. As Mike said, my name is Juliana Turnbull, and I am based in Barcelona, Spain. I am a digital marketing consultant and I run a company called Turn Global. We help clients with their SEO and their marketing, and we specialize in fintech, finance, and B2B. I also organize Search London and Search Barcelona, and we've been very pleased, Mike and I, to have met some of you at Brighton SEO last week. And today I am very excited to introduce two great special guests. We have Roger and Lisa joining us on our 44th episode. Hello, Roger and Lisa.
Hi. Happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. And Roger's dialing in from Amherst, Massachusetts. So it's actually 4:34 a.m. his time. So thank you very much for joining us today. We don't have anyone from New Zealand yet, but that's a very early start. So thank you very much, Roger. So for those that do not know Roger, he is an internet marketing expert. He's been actually building and promoting websites since 19, specializing in site audits and penalty recovery. He also serves as a consultant to some major corporations and organizations globally. But most of us know him because he frequently publishes on Search Engine Journal. As a staff writer, he stays up to date with the latest research, patents, and developments in search results. He has been cited by loads of different industry news sites. He's presented at many leading search conferences like SMX, Affiliate Summit, SCS, and he served as a judge for Search Industry Awards. He's spoken at PubCon, and he is speaking at PubCon Las Vegas next week. You've got a lot going on, Roger. How do you do it all?
I don't know. I'm looking forward though to speaking at PubCon. It's always a lot of fun. It's a chance to get together with people in the industry. I've been wanting to go to Brighton SEO for a while, and maybe next time.
It's in San Diego, although it's still a good flight from where you are.
Might be closer to the UK.
Yeah, that's true. And so thank you very much, Roger, for joining us. I've shared Roger's LinkedIn details there in the channel. And I also want to say a big welcome to Lisa. Lisa is a senior SEO content manager for the DACH region at Guest Response. She specializes in content SEO and outreach. Prior to that, she worked as an SEO specialist at the B2B tech platform Compado. She's also a very active member of the Women in Tech SEO. She's been to some of the Berlin meetups. She's also appeared on the Voice of Search podcast, and she shares her expertise through many different inspiring talks and articles featured in media outlets of these different publications, which I'll share in the chat. Thank you very much, Lisa, for joining us on today's SEO Office Hours. And you can see her in person at the Berlin WTS meetups that are organized from time to time. I will just share your LinkedIn profile in the chat. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys today.
We have quite a few attendees today. We've got 23 special guests with us. Thank you all for joining. We've got Jordan's come on, Otis as well, Abera, Chris, Uzair, Josephine. So thank you all for joining. Gatsy as well has just joined. If you have any questions, please do drop it in the chat and we'll be very happy to answer those questions. Over to you, Mike.
Great. Okay, let's get cracking because we actually have lots of questions. Obviously, we were at Brighton last week, so we didn't do office hours. Apologies to those of you that weren't at Brighton, and I didn't delete the calendar invite until 10 minutes before, so I apologize about that. Okay, let's jump straight into it. What truly makes an article the best answer on the internet? With Google increasingly focused on combating AI-generated mediocre content, I've been reading that going above and beyond consistently leads to better rankings, higher traffic, and when done right, more conversions. But what does going above and beyond really mean in terms of content quality? Who would like to kick off? Joe?
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah, sure.
Right, Lisa.
So for me, Lily, I think, of course, the key is to answer like the user intent. And I don't just mean deliver text answers, but I think what's also crucial is, especially nowadays, to give something visual as well. So if you really put time and effort into creating graphics as well, infographics or even videos, that's really precious for an article, especially because videos give something really authentic, which I think is super needed in times of AI. So yeah, I think that's the little extra that really pushes your performance and the quality of your article.
Amazing. Have you got anything to add?
I really like what Lisa said, and I would stress the importance also of graphics. I think in the ages ago, infographics was like maybe spammed a bit too much, but they are still important, and it's still a very nice visual when you have something factual. If you look at sites such as NerdWallet, they always have some great graphics there. Or if you go, of course, onto any sort of traveling or lifestyle brands, images are key. They don't necessarily do infographics all the time, but they do have some great quality photos. I would always pair an image with an article. Pictures paint 1,000 words, as they say.
Oh, go for it, Roger.
That's sure. My opinion on what makes good content is something that I think is really important is that the content have a high level of information density. And what high information density means is communicating the most amount of information with the least amount of words. And if you can make your point faster and clearer, it's not only better for users, but it also makes it easier for search engines to understand the point. A lot of times when you look at featured snippets or with the AI overviews shows, they're communicating with the least amount of words. So I think it's actually helpful to have content that at least one sentence out of a paragraph really nails it concisely what you're trying to communicate. And it'll look nice if it gets promoted to AI overviews or in a featured snippet like that. And in terms of the images, that's brilliant. Thanks for bringing that up, Lisa. I hadn't even thought about it, but it is something that I do think about. I think that if you have an image that illustrates something, so if you're talking about steps, you can take a snapshot and show those steps. Humans are primarily visual. Reading and all that is not really natural. That's not how we normally take in information. It's through our eyes and or other senses as well. And so having images there does help communicate your message. And for businesses, I like to tell them to have images that feature people who are likely to be the customer. So if you have a learning type thing for child and most of your customers are mothers and boys, then having a picture of a mother and a boy makes sense. That way, people can see themselves into an image. And yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, to be honest, I don't have loads to add. I think comprehensive, engaging. I think the only other thing I would have is a unique kind of voice or perspective. So something that makes you
Mm.
a bit different to everything else that's there on the.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's important.
And something that I think that people should really be careful about is when they do their research and looking at things for information gap or whatever, is that you start to copy what's people already are doing. And I personally don't research what other people are writing, whether it's for my projects or for SEJ or all that. I try to just communicate what I know in the best way that I think communicating the topic is. And when you start like that skyscraper strategy where it's basically look at what everybody else is doing and then just do it 10 times more, or you're not really bringing anything original to that. And I really dislike that approach, especially nowadays when Google's looking for something that's original and unique. And like you said, the perspective.
And I think there are lots of ways of doing that as well. So, for example, going out and collecting some unique data, for example, on the subject, or if it's to do with health and fitness, for example, you might want to get some expert input. And I think the SEO industry do this really well, actually, where usually the kind of posts that do quite well around certain topics, they usually involve lots of other people to get their kind of unique perspectives who have been doing these things for a while. I think the best answer on the internet, obviously it depends, but all of the things that everybody said. Joe, I can see a few things in the chat as well.
Yeah, there have been quite a few. Daniel saying, I like what Roger's saying. The authenticity is key. Research is good, but there should also be some unique points about your content. Steve was saying that we are at a master's level for some topics now, bachelor's for many topics as well. So it's about quality, references, research. Simon, good point from him, saying that it does depend on the topic. Anyone know the show called Love Island? What's happening on Love Island doesn't actually need to be helpful. It's really just about new gossip. Yeah, it depends really on what you're doing. I think some great tips shared by Lisa and Roger.
But even taking the Love Island example, so I don't actually watch Love Island, so this isn't me publicly admitting that.
I don't know. You might watch it. It's okay.
You know, if I was working for a client and they wanted to be involved in the conversations around Love Island, I'd suggest for a start that you've got somebody writing it or inputting that's actually watched the show and episodes. You might get contributions from other people that are big fans and so on. So although I agree, it doesn't mean it has to be just a few words or whatever is good enough. You'd still have to be an expert on that particular topic, right? You'd still want the visuals. You'd still want somebody that really understands what happened. Can't believe I'm talking about Love Island, but yes.
I can add,
yes, please
add
go
on to this. I think what's also really helpful in terms of research, staying with the Love Island example, maybe to have something unique, it could be beneficial to look also at social media or Reddit and see what's going on there, what kind of discussions that your competitors that create similar content don't necessarily look at, so you know what the community really is talking about and incorporate that into your article and not just write about like generic topics. And then another point I wanted to mention, adding on to what Roger has said in the beginning about being concise, I think it's also to take into account how readers are reading online. So really don't have large amounts of text blocks, but rather also structure your text visually, have like really important information and bullet points and so on, so that people can just scan through the text, get the information fast, and ideally stay on your site. So yeah, that's also really important.
That's so important. And that's where the headings come in handy to really break up that content. And yeah, I like breaking up paragraphs into as small units as possible, but brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay. Why don't we go on to the next question? This was quite a long one, so I'm going to cut it down, but Joe will put the full question in the chat. So this is somebody that uses advanced web ranking to monitor their organic rankings and therefore just as an indicator in terms of how well their website's doing. And so from an advanced web ranking perspective, their website in terms of every metric is doing way better than it was last year. And from a PPC perspective, it's about the same as it was last year. However, despite having more organic traffic going to the website and doing better from a rankings perspective, they're not getting more organic inquiries. And they've got 4 ideas in terms of why this might be. And the question is really, do we have anything else that they should look at to try and understand this? One of their ideas is that something's happening to the organic traffic that's not happening to their PPC traffic. Another is PPC traffic is cannibalising organic traffic. The next one is Google's presentation of the search results has changed. So although they may have the same or better positions, there may be something in between. And the other one is maybe the presentation of organic links are not as attractive as they were this time last year. So for example, if they haven't got star ratings and things like that against their links. Has anybody got any other thoughts on why that might be?
Are they getting click-throughs for the keyword phrases that are the same as the PPC?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, in the question, I didn't mention that part, but yes, they're bidding on the same terms that they track in advanced web ranking. So they've seen an increase.
Yeah. A phrase that we used to use a long time ago was that there were money phrases, and the money phrase is the ones are the keyword phrases that just consistently convert at the highest rate. And when we would do the affiliate sites, we would focus on ranking primarily the money phrases and none of this other stuff for branding or whatever, just money phrase. And back then you'd be able to do that, but still money phrases still convert, but there's like a different dance that we do where we try to get brand recognition and get people accustomed to the site and coming. And that kind of traffic isn't going to convert as well, or maybe the journey from hanging around the site and then eventually converting is a little longer. Whereas with the money phrases, it's a lot more direct. And I've used those money phrases. It's like you could just have a really high conversion rate. And even with the AdSense clicks, those I used to get really high AdSense clicks. But then it was a little different back then because you could like really pack the page with ads. But still, it sounds like it's maybe the keywords that they're ranking for. And I've seen this like when people do viral link campaigns and they say they manufacture a B2B device that is used by universities and the military, something very technological and specific that isn't used by the general public. But then you like go in and do, oh, world's largest video game played on with this kind of device. You're more likely to rank for this non-associated thing so that you'll get traffic, but it's not going to convert because it's not as close to your money phrases, to the keyword phrases that convert. And that's why viral links used to work for a while until Google got better at matching what the keywords are about and topics are about to what the landing page and what the rest of the site is about. And some traffic is just not going to convert, but hopefully it's doing something for you. And if it's not doing something for you, it's not going to cultivate somebody to get on that journey and buy, then you might need to have that conversation where like, do I need this content here? And that's what comes to my mind. And it's hard to speak specifically to the person who asked the question, but this is what I'm getting.
We could really do with a URL, I think, with this one, because one of my thoughts on it was just around what we don't know is, are you sending, in terms of PPC, are they going to the same pages? Are they having the same experience? Because often with some brands, they have a stripped down version. And also, what changes have you made if they do go to different URLs from an organic perspective? So if we had the URL, it would be really helpful because we could then look in a bit more detail. Lisa, have you got anything to add?
The problem is that you get traffic, but the traffic doesn't convert. I think it's also worth looking at the economic situation of the market you're targeting, because on many global markets, we're in a recession, so people are just really hesitant to buy, basically. Maybe take that into account. It could be a global problem as well. So maybe research how your competitors are doing if you can somehow, and maybe it's not just you, maybe it's the competitors. And I also really like what Chris said in the chat, that getting people to the website is only half the journey. You also have to think about how to keep them on your website and how to funnel them down. So maybe do some conversion rate optimization instead of just looking at PPC and SEO. Yeah.
Albert A. Albs says in the chat, I always use high CPC cost per click keywords to increase more leads through SEO. And that's actually really cool because people would complain that their AdSense ads weren't really getting a lot out of clicks and revenue. And I would say, are there any ads showing for those keywords that you're ranking for? And if they're not, then maybe there's nothing being sold with that. And that's probably why. And then that speaks to that, where the keywords that you use, if you do a search for it and there are like a lot of advertisers for it, then that kind of is a thumbnail indicator. This is a pretty good keyword phrase, but if there's only 1 to none advertising on that, then it's not really a money keyword phrase and might not convert as well. That's a good point.
Great.
Thank you.
I was just going to add on Lisa's point, I really like what you just said about the economy. And I think if this person, if they're comparing Google Ads and they're comparing organic, the thing with Google Ads is you can be a lot more targeted in terms of specific cities. And even if you know your market really well, ages, you can lean your bids towards certain things. So I think maybe you're just being a bit more targeted when it comes to a PPC perspective, whereas organic, you don't have that same control, right? You may have the same or more organic traffic, but there might be other factors. I really like that point. Joe, did you have anything to add?
Oh, no, nothing else to add. I wanted to share what everyone's saying. Actually, this is a very good point by Simon. He talked about one suggestion would be focus groups. So give people a real task to complete on their site. But starting point is obviously on search. See what they do and understand their journey and their pain point. Then you can uncover a lot more than just guessing, because now you have the data really, or the facts. As Chris said, yes, it's getting people to the site is only half the journey. But if the traffic is landing or getting what the people that are landing on your site, are they getting what they're looking for? Is your site performance decent? And that does affect a quality score for paid search. Good point also from Albert, as Roger said. Jordan's, hello, nice to see you after meeting in Brighton. He's mentioned that he'd suggest considering the strategy and saving some ad budget for keywords that are ranking in the top 3 of the SERPs organically. AI overviews and changes to feature snippets in recent times also change the landscape of the search. So sometimes you might be pushing down the actual pages or delivering the answer without the need for a click, resulting in 0-click searches. So that's why it's always really important as well to look at your Google Search Console, look at your impressions and look at your clicks and see how, for the rankings too, and see how that changed against last year. Josephine said such a great point from Lisa when you mentioned about the economic situation. This is especially true for luxury products. And another thing about the economic situation, we're not that far out of COVID, and I'm sure a lot of people noticed a drop in many things in searches and an increase in other. For example, lounge trousers or stay-at-home comfy wear, obviously massive increase, and of course massive decrease in searching for travel and things like that. I think there's been big changes over the past 4 years, so don't beat yourself up about it. It could also be the economic situations happening. Maybe see what the other competitors are doing too. Thanks. That's so many answers. And we just did 2 questions already.
I know. I was just going to add as well, just following on from Simon's point about watching people through focus groups. There are also tools like Microsoft Clarity or Hotjar or Full Story, where you can see people landing on your site, how they've got there, and then just watch a load of people and see what they're doing. And that might help. Great. Okay. Next question. We've made significant changes to our homepage and other parts of the website. How do we measure what we've done has worked? Joe will share the question. Yes, made changes to the website and they've pointed out the homepage. How do they measure whether what we've done has actually worked? Who would like to start?
Michael, you made an excellent point about clarity. Microsoft Clarity is a user experience analytics, and people tend to think, oh, I don't need clarity because I already have GA4 or whatever they're calling it nowadays. But I really like clarity because it shows you how people are reacting to the page and what their paths are through there. And it's completely GDPR compliant, and so it's not going to mess up anything. And it's a good way to see how people are reacting to changes that you make, the rage clicking and all that. Yeah, that's a really good point. And then the rest of it is like, you know, conversion and all that. But I think what you said about clarity is just the perfect way to analyze what the user experience is on pages that you made changes to.
Great. Lisa, what about you? Do you have anything to add? How are you measuring the changes that you're making to websites?
Yeah, so I'm measuring them basically with Google Analytics or Search Console. Especially if it's brand pages, product pages, then I would just, majorly have a look at branded keywords, how they're doing, branded clicks as well, if they're improving, and then obviously conversions, see if you have an increase in conversions or not. So yeah, those basic things to check. Yeah.
Great. Joe, do you have anything to add?
No, I think really things like we have all covered. It's great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next question. How much longer should we wait before deciding if a website migration was successful, considering that it's been a few weeks and all appears to be going well?
Yeah, if it's all going well, then I think you can accept that's the final decision. I've made some migrations, several migrations, and I've taken sites offline and just made major changes. And usually it's a matter of several weeks, sometimes faster than that, like just a couple weeks and 10 to 15 days. But that's great. If you're not seeing anything wrong, then that's good. And I doubt anything's going to fall off, because usually when you make a change like that, pages drop off, and then Google starts like indexing the other stuff, and then they start bringing in the new stuff into the index, and that over the course of 10 days, where there's like this period where there's old stuff, new stuff, and then the old stuff's slowly dropping off, and then at a certain point, all the new stuff is in the SERPs, and at that point, you're good.
Great. Lisa, do you feel the same?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I would say if you haven't noticed any mistakes so far, then you're good. Enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say that we're always like scared of something going wrong. We always need to like work harder, and we always have these backup plans. I don't think we tend to celebrate our success as much when something happens as it should. We're like, oh, was that too easy? But I don't know if you guys remember when you were at school, before high school, especially for me, school was easy. It was great. And things get done. We didn't question ourselves all the time. So if you have got some great results, take the credit for it. John says, take credit for all wings as long as they last. Daddy's talking about buy a champagne and tell everyone the migration went well. And also, I'd like to add that it means we don't need to be scared of the next one. We have also from a couple other ones, basically just saying, yeah, just celebrate. And if you actually have an SEO team, maybe you can tell them in a company meeting, oh, well done, they did this. Just celebrate all the good points that good achievements you've made.
I like Jordan's comment. If it crumbles, tie it to an algorithm update. There must be one around the corner at some point. You can just blame it on that.
Yeah, Simon says 50% of chances that is there an update. There is an update every other day. Wow.
I guess the only thing I will add, just putting the other hat on, the devil's advocate, I think it just depends on the size of the website. And if it is a huge website, it might just take that little bit longer before I would open up the champagne and so on. And Google Search Console is a really good tool for seeing if pages have been crawled, and you can go and inspect those pages and so on. But when I've ever worked on migrations, usually it's those first couple of weeks that you need to be most worried. So congratulations, that's amazing. Next question. God, we've turned a corner. We're now flying through them.
Well, let's not say too much. We've
got a semi-relevant one, actually, which is how long does it take to migrate a website? So we'll go with that one. So anybody here works on migrations? How long do you roughly how long do you roughly put a plan together for? Joe, what are your thoughts?
I would actually say plan first. As soon as someone says, oh, we're planning on migrating a website, put that in the plan because you can never plan too little. No, so I would actually put a Google Sheet together, or if you're using a project management tool, just find out when that's happening and then make sure you have a tech SEO checklist or a migration checklist that you do well before, and then you do one afterwards. But in terms of timing, I would just make sure that, say, if someone says, oh, I'm going to do it in, let's say, March, that you actually can start planning it now so that you actually, everyone who's responsible for the site migration, it's not just the SEO team, everyone's aware of it and everyone knows what could go wrong or what could go positively swimming, and do it on a day that is not a big holiday for the country you're marketing for, and do it on a day when everyone is available to fix any errors. So obviously not like a Friday night, or if it's a big e-commerce site, do it something on a day where people are available to help.
Yeah, I think there's so many other factors to take into account, such as, are you moving domain? Are you rebranding? Are you moving CMS? It depends on the type of migration and so on. But in my opinion, the longer you've got, the better. So if you've got a date and you're already talking about at some point we're going to be rebranding or whatever it is, I would start doing stuff now so that on the day that you are making those changes, they're not as significant maybe as ripping the band-aid or the plaster off and just hoping for the best. Ideally, I think somebody said in the chat, Danny said about 6 months being actually anything before then isn't enough time. And I totally agree that if you know it's coming up, if it's on the roadmap, then just start thinking about it now and thinking about all the things you can put in place to just make that day a bit easier. Lisa, what about yourself? Have you been involved in migrations? What are your thoughts on how long do you give it?
Yeah, everybody says it depends. It's really dependent on the size of the website, but also like how your team is set up as well. So the migration itself, super quick. But if you have a large website, you should, as Danny said, you should start planning at least more than 6 months ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if search is important to your business. I guess if it's not, it doesn't matter quite as much. But yeah, if it's a large website or if search really matters, 100%. Sorry, Roger, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think it depends on the kind of migration too, because like I've got a website that got just under 1 million pages, and that one I did a complete URL changes. Like I did categories and I did, but everything stayed the same. And then I put the redirects in there, and that was a really fast process for a lot of pages. And that I was like really shocked at how well Google was able it's just a one-to-one change, and Google responded to that really fast, surprisingly, shockingly fast, and I was really happy with that. But then I worked with a multinational company, and they purchased a competitor, and they merged both sites. And what I did was I crawled that. It was a pretty big site, and so I did a crawl of the page and the two sites, and then the final would be, and then I crawled the merge site, and I could tell they wanted to keep all the URLs but merge. And I could see by taking the old crawl and then just doing a crawl of those URLs that what was coming up as a 404 and what's not being redirected properly. And that was messy. And that did take months really to iron out. Yeah. But they had their internal SEO team. So I was just advising the SEO director going, here's some documents, do this. And once I passed it along, it was up to them to execute. And there was like, when it went through, there was just so many drop pages that they had to come back from. And so I was afterwards going, hey, here's some pages you need to put back in.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it depends on the kind of migration, because when you're merging two sites, gosh, and you're redirecting old pages to new pages, and you have to find out like, is this page really a direct match for this page? Maybe you should just 404 it, hard 404. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really love those roles when you have in-house SEO teams and you're the person on the outside just finding the holes. It's so much easier than being the person in it. And I've been both. And it's just, oh my
True,
goodness.
true, so true. Yeah.
Um, Joe, do you have anything to add, or is there anything in the chat?
Oh, we have chats. People are leaving some chats, yes. Basically, Chris was saying that the longest time for him is spent planning and having a checklist, double checking, and then post checking and all that. Yeah, the more time you have, the better. Simon raised a good point. Hopefully, you've been invited to contribute as an SEO at the start of this migration project and not just, oh, we're doing it like next week or even the day after. And Danny, as you mentioned, like she said, if the client comes 6 months before the go live date, it's maybe too late. That is for the case for bigger websites because, of course, you have lots of meetings and let a lot of stakeholders know. We also had a comment from Jordan. When it comes to managing migrations, it's vital to have them in the long-term commitment. But he said that we've had lots of clients try to sign up for an SEO project, and it's unrealistic because of the timelines and they keep changing all the time. So it's important to be there for the before, so the planning stage, the during, and of course the post migration. So yeah, lots of comments here. You're already like 45 minutes in, and I wanted to say thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you also for those that are watching the recording. If you want to be a special guest, or if you want to actually be joining us live, do go to goodsignals.com and go to the SEO-office-hours page, and you can sign up and Mike will send you an invite. Today we had 33 guests join us so far. We might have some more coming in. So thank you everyone for joining us and for contributing in the chat.
Yes, I was just going to say, in the next few weeks, the clocks change. I know they've just changed in Australia. Just note that for when I send out calendar invites for anyone that's overseas, that I'll try and I didn't let people know last time, and then we had people coming at the end. Or so anyway. Okay. Next question, Lisa. We're going to start with you this time, if that's all right. Put the pressure on. No, I'm just joking. We had a prep call yesterday. My question is this: with AI fast developing, what is its impact on SEO, and will SEO still be useful when it fully develops? And then there's a second question from this person, which is, can AI improve SEO, or will it lead to the decline of it? Go for
Is
it.
SEO dead?
Oh.
No. So yeah, I have many questions, many thoughts about this question. First of all, the impact of AI on SEO. So I think, and that's really beneficial for the web, I would say, is that we as SEOs have to rethink our strategies, especially in terms of content. And I think what people now really are looking for, as I said in the beginning, is authenticity, how to make your website content really authentic. And I think what's really crucial is to show people and to have unique perspectives, to basically everything we said in the beginning, to write also from your perspective and not just reproduce like general opinions or knowledge. And then the second thought I have is also that SEOs need to think about how else to get traffic, because I think most of us can see an organic traffic drop right now, also related to AI overviews and so on. So yeah, I think, and that's really something I enjoy right now about all the changes, is that we really have to incorporate organic social as well. We have to see how to distribute our content, how to be visible, how to get mentioned, how to build your brand instead of just getting links and just getting your keywords in to rank. So I think to really build a comprehensive strategy and to get your whole marketing department pull into one direction, I think that's how we're evolving, and that's something I really enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something to consider that I think maybe isn't well considered or understood, is that AI has been a part of Google for many years now, and in particular, the last 5, 6 years, it's been getting even more intense. And AI, the only changes really is to the major change then when most people speak about AI is in the front end, in the SERPs, but really AI has been in the back end for several years. I think in terms of the SERPs, what's happening now is that for all time, the only positions that ever mattered were positions 1 to 3. When you're in 4, 5, 6, whatever, there's just not anywhere near as much traffic as you have for 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, that's after PPC's shaved off what, 20, 25, 30% of the queries. Really, positions 1 to 3 is all that has ever mattered. And the lower ones, not so much. If Google is showing three results in AIO, but now they're actually showing they're starting to show more than that. But even at 3, that replicates the old SERPs basically, which is like the top 3. So it's not really as bad as people are making it. And the second thing is that because people are doing more natural language queries, the answers that Google shows are more precise. And when people do click through, you're getting a very better quality of traffic. So in a way, hopefully what this will mean is that you'll start seeing less of the people who visit your site and then bounce away. And because now you have better qualified traffic coming to the site. So those are the two really important things that I think need to get mentioned. And I think it's a little misleading how some people say, put on the siren and whatever, saying, oh my God, the top 10 links are gone. It's like, they've been gone for a long time. And the whole thing about organic 10 links is just a myth. It hasn't been a thing for a long time. And even when we had the 10 links, just the top 3 mattered. So really, AIO is just the next evolution of a continually changing. And I've been in it since the very beginning. And we've just been through so many changes. And I think the past 2, 3 years have been the most intense changes I've experienced since maybe the early years, maybe the first 5 years of Google, where things were like in 2005, they announced that they were using statistical analysis, which was like a major change, statistical analysis for sussing out in natural links. And that was just like, when I heard that, it was like a major bombshell. And that was 2005. And that was like the last time until Penguin that there was like a major upheaval. And then now with the AIO, this is different. Yes, we have the algorithm things going on in the background, which are very significant. And I think maybe those are actually even more significant than the AIO, because the AIO is just basically making it obvious what has always been the case. Top 3 matters.
Amazing, fascinating. Joe, do you have anything to add or anything in the comments?
I've just wanted to share some of the comments that we have because this is quite a lot of people have the comments about this particular topic. So Simon's saying that this can actually help, AI can help in research, but don't of course rely on it too heavily to do the work for you. Your experience is what will keep you in an SEO role despite AI. Steve has said that more data is needed about the AIO boxes and what occurs within them, their impact on CTR, and the difference between AIO and featured snippets. The business case for evergreen content marketing could change, but again, probably need more data. Chris is saying that he's found himself reconsidering AIO as he has been using it. Clients don't always agree, but everything new takes time to settle. So yeah, this is another thing. It's down to your clients as well, what they're doing. That search engines and LMO both need sources of information to be able to deliver outcomes, so SEOs are safe. If you optimize according to best practices, you will still be in a great position to help you.
I think what Lisa said about the brand, building brand, and is so important too. That's really It's really a good thing that you said, and it should be underlined and make sure that that gets through. It's so important. I wrote about that branded search patent. It came out like around 2012. I think if you Google branded search patent, Google's branded search patent, you'll find my article on that. And this is from 2012, where they were using branded searches as they call them unlinked citations. And some people use that patent to say that is link mentions, but that's not what it is at all. They were using, like when somebody types the word some product and then a brand name, they were equating that to giving that a point like a link, an unlinked citation, and treating it just like a link. And so building a brand, yeah, I think it's still a real thing that's important, because if people are looking for you by name, I'm pretty sure Google is going to want to show that in the search results. Yeah. So good
Yeah,
point, Lisa.
yeah, and we also have some good points in the chat. Obviously, Danny and John, they did the keynote speak last Friday at Brighton SEO, just 1 week ago today, and they were explaining that all this AI, these things need to crawl the web, and we are experts at that. We, the SEO, are experts. We are on the front deciding how the future, so we are the forefront really deciding how the future might look like. And John also said that it goes back to what you said, Roger, before. If you have a really unique information, that's not something that's replaceable with a LLM. And people will want to read the details. It's really important that we don't think, oh, AI, it's going to take over our jobs. No, SEO is still going to be important. The keynote speak from Danny and John was very interesting last week. And for those that were at Brighton or can get the recordings, I'd recommend watching that session.
Yeah,
And
that was going to be my point, actually, just to say, if you can get your hands on the video, they talked about the state of search, but also the impact of AI, and they went back and then to now and the future. Okay, we only have a couple of minutes left, so I think we'll finish on our regular question, which is, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective? Lisa, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective at the moment?
Yeah, that kind of connects to the last question we had. So I feel like our roles are really changing right now, and I'm just very excited about how SEO will evolve, how it will collaborate with other marketing channels like social, video, and so on. So yeah, that's something I really enjoy right now. And yeah, let's see what the future holds.
Great. Roger, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective at the moment?
It's just a period of change, and I feel like we're going through history right now, and we're in the midst of a historic moment, and people are going to be talking about this in the future, and we respond to this is super important, and we really have to be open to letting go of the way we did things in the past and really look to the future and how be aware of what the changes are. So yeah, it's really exciting. I'm really excited about the changes because it's challenging and it challenges all of us. And I think in times like that, it's good to seek out community, whether it's like here or on Facebook or in groups or wherever in social media, and really get together and listen to what others are saying. Yeah.
Great. Joe, what are you most excited about from an SEO perspective?
Events. So there was a great Brighton SEO last week, of course, and we got to meet John as well. So thanks, John, for having a photo with us. And yeah, more events coming up, and the fact that people are always sharing tips and tricks or tips, recommendations. And also we have a Search London, our first workshop sponsor. It's about tech SEO, and I've just shared a link to the LinkedIn tweet, share, post, whatever. Come to the event on November 25th. We have the party in the evening and a workshop in the day in central London.
Perfect. I think we'll stop there. Thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you so much to those of you that watched live and are watching afterwards on YouTube. Thanks to those that submitted the questions. Joe, thank you for co-hosting, and we'll be back next week. So have a lovely weekend. And Joe, I hope your voice recovers as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us and our special guests. Thank you, Mike, for running the show, our 44th episode.
Hey, bye everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Bye.